Hey Titans, it's Mordecai from GamerTitan.com. In this video, we're going to be going over networked custom properties. Now, let's go ahead and open the project from last time. So this is the same project that I used to explain very quickly what a broadcast was. And in that video, I had mentioned that while a broadcast is one of the methods to get information from the server to the client and the client to the server, it's not the only option. So we have another option that allows us to get data that doesn't have an actual data limit. However, I will say that you do not want to be sending too much information at one time through a network custom property, because it will actually start to slow your game down, because there is the overall networking of the game itself. But network custom properties are a great way to get information from the server to the client that clients have to get. So one thing is with events is if you do hit a rate limit, there's a potential that the client may not receive that update. So with a network custom property, there is a little bit of a delay because it will only update on the next server tick. And so it will update 10 times a second, I believe it is. So a tenth of a second for every change. However, the client is guaranteed to eventually get it. It may not be instant, but they'll eventually get it. And so I use network custom properties in a lot of different things. So just to recap here, what we did in the previous video was we set up a client-side script that allowed me to input a keybind, and it would broadcast to the server to move the ball up, or if I clicked another keybind, it would move the ball down. And then on the server side, it would then listen for that information, and then based on the information on if it should go up or down, it would move it up or down, and then it would broadcast back to the player going up or going down. So like I said in that video, this is something that, client-side validation, you probably wouldn't want to do this. However, it got the point across in terms of broadcasting. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to press play real quick to make sure this script is still working. So press 9 to go up, press 8 and it says going down in the top left corner of my screen. It's probably a bad place to have it because it says preview mode, but you should be able to see that it, based on which way the ball is going, it is in fact updating the client on which way it's going. So what is a networked custom property? So instead of doing a broadcast, what we can do is add a custom property to the ball. And so going to the script helper, and real quick, just to mention really quick, if you go to window, you get the script helper by selecting script helper here. And I always keep this in my editor because it's extremely helpful. So what we're going to be working with is I would type in network. And when I type in network, under classes, core object, we have an event called a networked property change event. And then we have a function that allows us to set a networked custom property. And so these are both, the listener can be on both server and client. The setting of the networked custom property can only be on the server. So that is one thing to mention. In terms of getting data from the client to the server, the only way to do it is through an event. But from the server to the client, we can use this network custom property. So to use a network custom property, you will need an object that's networked. So in this case, the ball, which has to be networked anyway with how we're currently moving it. And so to add a network custom property, what we would do is we just add a custom property right here, and we're going to use a string. And so what we need to do is name it. And so I usually name my network custom properties relatively small, just try and save data as much as possible. So what I would do is I would just call it BI, and then, or usually I would just call it data as an example. And now we have this custom property that is a string. And the reason I made it a string is if we look at our server script, it was broadcasting a string back to our client. So to reuse as much of this code as possible, we'll just keep the example the same, and we'll need a custom property that is a string. So now that we have data, which is a string, we're going to go ahead and right click it and click Enable Property Networking. Now, when we do this, the custom property will turn orange, and an orange custom property means that it's networked. So what that means is it allows us to change this information at runtime. So to do that, what we need to do is take this set network custom property and put it into our server script. And just real quick, we're already referencing the ball on the server script. So whatever you're going to be setting the network custom property for, you need to make sure that you're referencing it inside of whatever script is going to set that network custom property. So this ball, once again, is networked. This is a server script, has a reference to it, so it can set custom properties of that object. We're going to go ahead and open it up. And now, instead of doing a broadcast to player, what we're going to do is we're going to do ball. We're going to paste that in. So it's ball set network custom property, and the string property name is going to be data. If you remember, that's what we set the custom property to, and the value is going to be string. And the reason it's string is because before we were broadcasting string to the client, we want that same information, but we want to use a network custom property instead. And you can see that set string here based on which direction the ball is going. So we'll go ahead and just comment out this broadcast here. And the thing is we haven't connected it on the client yet. So we're not actually going to be able to get the information on the client just yet. But just to demo this, we'll go ahead and play it. And what I can do is I can pause, I can select the ball object, and I can unpause. Now, if I press 9, we're going to see that the custom property down there at the bottom right says going up now. If I press 8, it says going down. So it's changing at runtime, just like we wanted. However, if you notice, we used to have it saying that going up or down on our UI up in the top left, but it's not doing that. So how do we actually get this information to the client? So to do that, there is this networked property changed event. So in the client, once again, we'll need to reference the ball object. And to do that, all we're going to do is select our client script. We're going to drag the ball in as an object reference. And now it's a object reference. And we're going to create a network property change event. But first we need to actually get the ball object. We're going to paste the ball script from core up here. And what we're going to do is, so we got the ball in the client script, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up ball.networked custom property change event connect, and we're going to set a new function. We're going to connect to on network changed. And as you can see, the script helper gave us this helpful comment right here that this event will pass the core object and the string of the network custom property that changed. So all we need to do is create a function called onNetworkChanged, and the first parameter is going to be object, and the second one will be string. And the reason it passes the object is because we can connect multiple networked custom property change events to multiple objects while having all of them fire the same function. And so by getting this object here, we know what object changed. However, in this case, we only have it connected to one object, so it's going to be the ball. But in most cases, it's always good practice to do if object equals ball to know that it's actually the object that you're looking for. That will validate it. So that's the object, and then the string is the actual custom property that changed. And so in our case, we want to make sure that string equals data. We'll go ahead and format that. And so now, when the ball network custom property changes, this function will fire. It checks to make sure it's what we're looking for. And if it is, what we're going to do is we're going to do ball get custom property string. and we are going to make this variable string, and we're going to go ahead and delete this listener here because that was from the server before, which is no longer sending, just to make sure that we're actually getting the information still. And so just to go through it one more time, when the ball has a network custom property that changes, fires this function, we check if it's the ball, we check what the string is to make sure it's data, and if it is, then we just simply get the custom property just like we usually would, and we're getting string, and it's because we know that string equals data. And what we're getting is we're turning it into a variable because we're going to go ahead and use the same function here that we were doing before. So now on the client, it's connected and should be getting the information. So all we have to do is click play here. And if I press 9, it should say going up. If I press 8, it should say going down. The only difference is that we're no longer relying on broadcasting, but we're doing it through network custom properties. Now, in this example, we only set it up to be a string, but you can set it up to be any type of network custom property you would like. So like if you wanted to, for whatever reason, use it to reference another object, or, you know, a rotation, a vector3, like here, do test. And there we go. So now this vector3 is a network custom property. So you can use any type of custom property as a network custom property and change it at runtime, which is extremely powerful. Now in the next video, I'll show you a more advanced way to be able to use this as a one-time object to send data from the server to the client. As an example, if you have a networked custom property on a networked object that you're only using for a data transfer, it doesn't really make much sense in some cases to just have that networked object sitting around your project for the rest of the game if it's already served its purpose. However, in this case, we were using it for an object that will be in the game all the time. So hopefully this video helped. If you had any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. If you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up. And if you want more correlated content, please hit that subscribe button. And I will catch you next time, Titans.